Mr. Klein here at St. Peter's Cemetery here in New Iberia on a really sunny Saturday. What we're going to do is we're going to go into this cemetery. It was originally founded in 1838 and actually includes a lot of the founders of New Iberia. Spanish and French families that started it, along with several famous other people. But in preparation for our field trip, what we're going to do is we're going to go in, like I said, we're going to find an interesting grave and we're going to do a grave rubbing, and I'm going to go through it step by step. We'll find someone interesting or whatever, and we'll look at it and we'll see what are some things from a grave tombstone rather, and look a little bit about it, and then I'm going to do the grave rubbing and you can see some things for your primary source activity that we'll do later. So let's go ahead and let's go inside. And one of the things you're going to notice at some of these graves is the rather poor quality, but that's because it's been around for like a couple hundred years and stuff. This material right here looks to be marble, which was used for very wealthy people, and you have concrete and stuff on top, which was used for less wealthy people right here. So you use the marble for the long term, and if I pan around right here, you'll see right here that this is actually granite. It's an igneous rock. You'll learn about this in 8th grade. It's used a lot in modern graves. It's not as expensive as marble, but it is pretty reliable. In fact, you might even have some of this on your countertops. Also, if you look on this gravestone, you'll see all of these family members, okay? Lucius Segura, Francois, Amelia, all of these right here, and including the infants. Now, tombstones like this, as we'll look right here, tombstones like this have the entire family buried there. And if I pan up, you'll see the gravestone, the crosses on the top, right there. Those are actually the first graves, and since the family since then has actually, they've been buried in the same plot, that's where they've all gone since then. Now you might be wondering, as we pan through, and we go and we look down here at the first row of the cemetery, you'll see that essentially whenever you think of a graveyard, you'll think of just like tombstones on the ground. But for those of us who are local here in South Louisiana, they're all above ground. The reason why is that the water table, like the natural water level below the ground, is really high. And if you remember from the floods recently, at the time of this recording, graves would pop up. And that's because the water gets up to the level too much and the caskets and stuff pop out of the ground because of a difference in pressure. So because we have our graves and stuff above ground like this allows us to have them buried and you're not bothered by floodwaters. So here we are at another burial. This is actually a crypt, what we would call that. And this is all the family of Raphael Segura. Now, not being from New Iberia, I don't know who this person is, but they might be related to some of you. But what's interesting is that each of these tombs has multiple family members in that, because they believe that, you know, whenever you've passed away and you're off in the great beyond, heaven, assumably, that you'd want to be with your family members. And so, if we notice, 1869, this is a family was established. This person, Adolph Segura, passed away on May 11, 1888, age 57 years. And if we pan over, we can see that actually it's still used today, even though it started in 1869. Because we see this person right here, okay, 1970, just 3 years ago that I recorded this, 2013, so they're what, 70, 40, 43 years old? Okay, they were buried there, and they're buried next to someone who passed away in August of 1902. So the entire family still uses this tomb, and they just bury the bodies with them, okay? So you might want to be aware of this when you're looking at this. See that entire families might be buried in one area. And I'm going to show you one more thing to keep in mind. A couple more things. And whenever we get there, I have the third place we're going to go to is actually the tomb that we're going to actually do a grave rubbing for. So let's go ahead and let's head over there. So we're looking at this tomb right here. It's obviously in disrepair. It's made out of concrete and brick, and I don't want to mess with it too much, obviously, to respect the dead. But the thing about these graves like this is you'll see some that don't have tombstones or are in disrepair. That means that no one knows who it is and no one's taking care of it since the person passed away, so it's broken and fallen apart. And one of the people who's in charge of this cemetery is going to great lengths, as you'll see this paper right there, to find out who these people are who are buried there, and maybe if people want to like work and help and restore these graves, and plus we can find out who the people who are buried there. Alright, so I have 2 more graves I want you guys to look at. These graves right here are infants. Infants are children. 150 years ago, children dying at a really young age was like a reality because of modern medicine not being what it is today, allowing babies to survive. And some of these graves, you'll find one that says infant. That means the baby passed away before it was actually christened, which means that it died really, really young. And that was a reality for people back then. So if you notice that, there's not in a lot of these graves, but they are there and thereabouts. So if you see that, you'll understand why. You know, infant deaths happen nowadays still, but they're nowhere near as often as they were then because of modern medicine. But if you see graves like this, obviously these are unmarked. I want you to be aware of them. So I found a grave over here, and so let's go ahead and let's go and do a grave rubbing. So, this is the grave I've chosen. His name is Eugene Weld MD. He's a doctor from Boston, Massachusetts. He died honored and lamented on January 21st, 1849. He was 43 years old. Now, why is someone from Boston, Massachusetts buried here in New Iberia? Well, it says, in the heroic exercise of professional duty and Christian charity in time of pestilence. I know pestilence has something to disease, so he must have died during some sort of disease outbreak here in New Iberia in 1849. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to show you how I do my grave rubbing. And I'm going to take this back, and later on we'll do the primary source exercise and where we can figure out who this guy was. Alright, so I have the materials you're going to need. You're going to need the painter's tape, the blue tape, your pencil, and your paper. Now, I brought some paper that's a little bit bigger. So the first and most important thing with your partner is going to be to completely and totally cover the grave. So I'm going to drop my paper down, okay, and then it'll be much easier with my partner, which I don't have one, so we'll call him my imaginary friend Fred. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to attach this, and we'll go from here. Alright, so it took me a good bit of effort, but I managed to get this taped in, mainly because of the wind and I didn't have a partner. What you're going to do is you're going to use your pencil, and with your partner, you're going to make the rubbing of the grave. And if you notice, what's starting to come up is the writing. See? So, you just gotta, with you and your partner's help, you can keep this rather close to the paper. And as you can see, as I'm coloring this in, it actually comes out. Now, you don't want to color over too much because it takes up the letters, but you can just go through, and when you hear it, when you hear it passing over the letters, you just make sure you get it nice and well colored to where all the letters come in. So I have in memory of Eugene Weld. Okay, as you can see, I have this. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to shift over, and I'm going to make sure this paper stays super tight, because that's really the key. You can't get this done if the paper isn't tight. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to keep on working, and I'm going to show you what I have when I'm done. Alright, so I've go ahead and I've finished, and as you can see, you can actually see the information from the grave rubbing. So because I wrapped it up with paper, I used the color and the tape right here The grave itself actually wasn't damaged, that's what we want. We want to be able to take the information off without any damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this off, and then I'm going to take it back to my house, and we're going to do some primary source analysis with it. So let's go ahead and let's go. Okay, so we're back at my house after going ahead and doing the grave rubbing, which I have it right here. Okay, see, Eugene. And what we're going to do is you have this primary source analysis tool for gravestones, okay? You've all received it before. You filled in some of this information at the grave site, but now let's go ahead and let's wrap this up in order to do our essay. So let's go ahead and let's get going with this. Now there's 9 questions for you to answer. First off is the name of the person, okay? So obviously your gravestone's going to have the name of the person. Mine was Dr. Eugene Weld MD. And what I'm going to need to do is later on, I'm putting a box around this because this is stuff I need to find out. What does this mean? Okay, need to know this. Okay, I need to know what this means. So I'm marking a note that for my essay later on. Okay, lifetime. When were they born? When did they die? Okay, most of the time they're not going to put the where, but you can put where also. Okay, because for this one, it put he was from Boston, Massachusetts. Okay, so I'm going to put Boston, MA. Okay, that's where he's from. He died in New Iberia. Okay, so I do know that AET, well, I know he died. The birth, I don't know when, and he died January 21st, 1849. So the birth date, he was born maybe in, if he died at 43, maybe in 1805 or 1806. Probably 1806 more likely if he died in January at age 43. He probably didn't just turn 43. Okay, so birth date, let's just say 1806 to 1849, okay? We're not sure because there's no information. I would have to go look this up and find out some more information. Now, that was question 1. I put the where and the when. Now, if it says from somewhere, you're going to want to write that down. If not, you can not add that information. Location. What graveyard are they born in? Now, most of you have done this project at St. Peter's Cemetery, so we'll put St. Peter's Cemetery, okay? St. Peter's Cemetery, Cemetery, in New Iberia, okay? And what graveyard? Also, where in the graveyard is the grave located? Well, he's located, if I draw a map, a little map right here for you to see the graveyard. This is where we went in, and he was located right here. And the railroad tracks go across right here. Okay? Now, this area, if this was a compass rose, okay, this area, this way, is north. Okay? So, the railroad tracks pretty much run east to west, so he is in the northeast corner, okay? So he's buried in the northeast corner. And we can look it up later. We can actually find the exact location, because oftentimes they'll give coordinates of where it's at, of the cemetery. Okay? Tary. Okay, so Name of the person, lifetime, location. Okay, so on to question number 4. The type of grave. Is it above ground? Actually, this grave seems really weird because as we looked, everything was above ground. Actually, it is not. It is it alone or with multiple people? It is a single grave that seems to be below ground. Okay? So, if it was in a mausoleum or a crypt or something like that, you would put that it's like a slot in a mausoleum or in a crypt or something like that. So mine, it was a single grave. It seems to be below ground. I'd have to research and find out if there's actually a grave there. But for our purposes, since I don't know, I'm writing this down. Okay, what are the materials made of? Granite. Remember, granite was that stuff that kind of looks like cookies and cream ice cream. That rock, that smooth rock. Is it made of marble? Yes, it was made of marble. Okay. It looks like a type of marble. Made of something like marble. Something that looks like marble. Or something else. Some of you might have a concrete grave. Some of them might even be brick. That... I don't think it's sandstone. Part of me was thinking originally when I was feeling it that it was sandstone. But sandstone, with the amount of rain we have in Louisiana, would have been worn down. It's in way better condition than it would be if it was made out of sandstone. Might be marble. Okay? And remember, marble is the most expensive of the generally three materials. So granite would be middle class, marble upper class, and then concrete would be poor. Grave condition. In what condition was the grave itself? Was it maintained or was it broken out? It was well maintained. Okay? It wasn't dirty or stained or anything like that. So... So we have that information right there. It was well maintained. Inscriptions. Apart from the name and date, what else does it say? Now we're going to go ahead and we're going to quote this. And now note, if it has something in a foreign language, write in a foreign language and translate it as best you can. If it's French, you can ask someone who speaks French. If it's Latin, you can use an online Latin translation. Okay, so it says, in memory of Eugene, E-U-G-E-N-E, Weld, that must be his middle name. A.M. I bet he has two middle names because M.D. is for doctor. So I bet these are middle names. Okay, in fact, I'm gonna put a little note here that I need to find out. Are these middle names? Okay, because sometimes you'll have two middle names for people. Okay, so let's see, and the next line is of Boston, Massachusetts. And it was written like this. So I want to make sure that it says exactly what it says on there. So he died honored, H-O-N-O-U-R-E-D, because that's how it was spelled, and lamented okay, January 21st 1849, A.E.T. 43. Okay, at the age of 43. So the next part says, if you remember from the video, from what I had before, it says, in the heroic exercise, let me spell that correctly, H-E-R-O-I-C, exercise, of professional duty okay, professional duty and Christian charity in time of pestilence. P-E-S-T-I-L-E-N-C-E. Okay, so that's what it says on the grave. Now you probably don't have something that has as much, but since mine did, I wrote all this down. So I can use this tool when it comes on to the essay. All right, did the gravestone have any images? No, no images on grave. Okay, some of you might have an image, you might have done the grave rubbing of it, or you might have a picture of it. If it was something you couldn't do, or it tore, you know, that's perfectly fine. Okay, so I'm putting no images on gravestone. So, is there anything else about the gravesite or gravestone you notice? Actually, there was one thing. There was a grave next to it with someone from New Jersey that I saw, okay, who died the same year and the gravestone was of the same material, which is weird because it's like those graves, that grave you saw, there's none of them like it in the cemetery. So that's like unique. Is the same. And they're the only two. They're the only two like that. Okay? So you want to take a look at that stuff, because that's interesting. Like, if it's the only two, well, why is it? I don't know. Okay? Only two like it. Okay? So, we've done the entire process. We've gone to the graveyard. We've looked at the types of graves. We found the grave. We've done a grave rubbing, okay, which I have right here. Okay? Now that's our primary source, okay? And so what we've done is we've done this primary source analysis tool, and we've answered 9 questions. We got the name of the person, when and where they were born and where they lived, where they died, location, where in the graveyard. I even drew this little map. You don't have to do that, but we'll figure out which corner of the cemetery. What type of grave, you know, like the single grave, was it together, anything like that? What was it made of? What condition the grave was in? What the grave actually said on it? That's the main information we use to find a person. There were no images on it, but yours might. And then finally, any other information you notice about it. Okay, so from there, if you have a family member, this will be pretty easy. So you can from here, you can ask about some information about your family members in order to find out more information about the person that you did the research on. If you don't, you will have to pick up information from this part or whatever we can find through some independent research. If you can find something, great. If not, that's okay. We'll just use this information as best you can. So there you go. That's the entire video. I hope this is of great help to you. If you have any questions for this project, please let me know, and thanks for watching.